All right, guys, here we go. Chapter 52 of The False Prince. Oh man, we're almost done. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, here we go. Chapter 52. A meeting of the regents was in full progress when Connor breathlessly entered the throne room. He was the only one who had come in late, and his arrival caused an unwelcome disruption. If there were any occasion for you to arrive on time, Lord Connor, this would have been it. The man who spoke was Joth Kerwin, High Chamberlain to King Egbert. So he's a pretty important dude. He was almost as much a part of this castle as the bricks and mortar, having served the king his entire life. He wasn't a large or powerfully built man, quite the opposite, in fact, and yet he could command a room of 1,000 with just a wave of his hand. There was no one who had been more loyal to King Egbert, and few who had ever loved Carthia so much. The lines on his aging face told the story of years of worry and the weight of counseling royalty on their most difficult decisions. Now he was facing the greatest task of his career, peaceably finding a new king for Carthia. Because if civil war broke out amongst the different factions vying for the throne, Carthia's enemies would use the opportunity to advance on the country and destroy it. Connor gave a polite bow to Kerwin. "My lord High Chamberlain, I had trouble getting here. Forgive me, please." There were 19 other regents in the room, seated according to their rank at a long rectangular table. Connor's place was near the end, but he hoped that by the close of the evening he would replace Veldergrath at the head of the table. So isn't that interesting? After all of this time, we think Connor is this high regent and stuff, when in actuality, he's very, very low on the totem pole. He's not very important. He is because he's a regent, but because of his status and where he belongs, he's really not all that important, which is interesting because this entire time we've thought he is. So kind of cool, right? How Jennifer Nielsen brought it full circle and we learned a little bit more about Connor right at the end of the story. Even if they knew the risk, this was a vain and largely useless group. Few had ever worked a real day in their lives. Even if they knew the risk and expense Connor had undergone to bring a prince to the throne, they would never appreciate the valiancy of his efforts. Connor had accepted that it was his role to save Carthia, but this collection of stiff-necked, silk-wrapped snobs would never understand that. "You may take your seat," Kerwin said. "I've already made the announcement, formally declaring King Egbert and his queen and son to be dead. In only moments, the death bell will toll, one round for each royal." Almost immediately, the bells sounded throughout the castle. Their ring would carry beyond the outskirts of the capital city and would signal to the commoners that a royal had died. 3 patterns of the bells would confirm the rumors were true. The entire royal family was gone. When the bells fell silent, Kerwin continued. "Lords Meade, Beckett, and Hentower, who traveled to Isle this past week, have confirmed for us that Prince Jarin must have died in the pirate attack 4 years ago. Therefore, we are left with no alternative but to... There is something more to that story." Connor's words were smug and tilted toward the self-righteous. This was a speech he had practiced so often in his head that he could repeat it in his sleep. "May I speak, Lord Kerwin?" Kerwin nodded permission at him, and Connor stood. "With deference to my fellow regents who searched for proof of Jarin's death this past week, they are wrong. Prince Jarin survived the pirate attack 4 years ago. He still lives. He is the rightful heir to the throne and should be crowned this night as the King of Carthia." Veldergrath stood, pointing a long finger at Connor. "Then I was right. You did have him hidden in your home." "Only for his protection, Lord Veldergrath, until now. Surely you can see how his being alive may threaten anyone else who hoped to become king tonight.
Is that an
Accusation? Veldergrath began hurling obscenities at Connor. Ugh.
The two regents on either side of him
held him back, and the other regents around the table murmured loudly to one another. Finally, Kerwin stepped forward. So, where is this prince of yours, Lord Connor? He's coming. As I said before, we had trouble getting here. Naturally you did. I'm told there were several Prince Gerrans who had trouble getting here. Connor spoke above the chuckles of his peers. They didn't let anyone through at the gate. No doubt the prince will punish the guards there for failing to recognize him. If he were the prince, he would have known how to get through. The royals always know how to get through.
He must have forgotten.
Connor's face paled, and he held on to the table for support. Prince Sharon will be here. Then you'll see.
Hearing footsteps in the hallway,
he turned to the doors of the throne room expectantly. Almost as if on cue, someone did enter, but it was not who he hoped to see.
Mott? Connor said.
Only regents are allowed in this meeting, Veldergrath said. You may wait with the other guests and nobles in the great hall. That's where the new king will greet his people. But Mott seemed to see only Connor in the room. He isn't here?
He came through the kitchen a long time ago.
Perhaps your false prince is lost in the castle, another regent said to laughter in the room. He grew up here. Of course he's not lost. It was an attempt at confidence, but desperation cut too clearly through Connor's words.
I propose we
continue this meeting. Veldergrath waited until all eyes were on him and then added, We must not keep the people waiting, and I'm sure whoever is chosen as king will want to speak to Lord Connor on the subject of treason. Then something must have happened in the adjoining room, the great hall where hundreds of citizens had gathered to wait for the announcement of the new king. What had been a steady hum of conversation suddenly fell completely silent.
Behind Mott,
a castle servant burst through the doors. Forgive me, regents, he said, forgetting the customary bow of his head, but you should all come into the great hall as quickly as possible. Although they were 20 men and women of great status and power, well trained in decorum and manners, no one would have known it by the way they hurried from the throne room. The only one who did not push his way out was Kerwin, who slid through a secret door between the throne room and the great hall. He was the first to see what had caused the entire crowd in the great hall to fall silent. For Prince Gerran was standing at the head of the room. So there's Sage and Gerran, they're there. He's in the throne room. We'll see how this all plays out in chapter 53. Alrighty guys, peace out. Have a good night, or a good day, whatever you're watching this. Alright, bye.